This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. Welcome to Sunday Update, a public service of the Corbett Report podcast for this 14th day of February 2010. And now for the real news. In our top story this week, transport authorities around the world have been caught out on yet another lie regarding the highly unpopular naked scanning technology that is being implemented in the name of heightened airport security. For months now, security officials defending the use of these machines have claimed that they are incapable of storing or printing out naked images of passengers, with UK Transport Secretary Lord Adonis saying earlier this month, quote, "It is very important to stress that the images which are captured by body scanners are immediately deleted after the passenger has gone through the body scanner," and adding, quote, "Staff are of course properly trained and supervised who manage the body scanners." Last year, Kristen Lee, a spokeswoman for the Transportation Security Administration in the US, also assured CNN that naked images captured by the scanners would be automatically deleted. This week, however, Indian film star Shahrukh Khan seemed to contradict these claims when he told BBC's Jonathan Ross about his own experience with the scanners at London's Heathrow Airport.
You walk into the machine and everything, the whole outline of your body comes out, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't know this, so I was a little scared because these people came up and they never do this because a lot of Asians at the airport and they're very kind to me. And then suddenly they said, you have to go into the machine, go into the machine. So I went in and you have to keep your hand like this and some stuff happens. And I came out and then I saw these girls, they had these printouts. So I looked at them, I thought, you know, maybe it's a form that you're supposed to fill, they gave it to me, and you can see everything inside. And then I've autographed them for them.
Oh, wow, that's very good of you.
The devices have been the subject of protests and criticisms around the world for their invasive nature, and security officials have been caught resorting to falsehoods to try to allay the public's fears. Defenders of the technology have tried to claim that the machines do not show intimate details of passengers' bodies, with TSA spokeswoman Lee even claiming that the images resemble fuzzy negatives, and Heritage Foundation talking head James Carafano telling the Washington Post that the scanners cover up the dirty bits, claims directly contradicted by Melbourne Airport's Office of Transport Security Manager Cheryl Johnson, who said last year, quote, "It will show the private parts of people, but what we've decided is that we're not going to blur those out because it severely limits the detection capabilities," end quote. Industry groups have also tried to claim that the devices are not physically harmful, with some claiming that radiation exposure from the machines is negligible. This is contradicted by MIT's Technology Review, however, which reported last October that the terahertz waves that the scanners rely on have the power to actually tear apart DNA. According to Technology Review, quote, "Resonant effects allow terahertz waves to unzip double-stranded DNA, creating bubbles in the double strand that could significantly interfere with processes such as gene expression and DNA replication," end quote. Earlier this year, it was revealed that Michael Chertoff, the former head of Homeland Security in the US and a longtime proponent of the naked scanner technology, is head of a security consulting agency whose clients include manufacturers of the machines. In other news, public anger continues to grow as even mainstream media outlets are beginning to report what the alternative media has been touting for years, namely that the $700 billion TARP program, commonly known as the banker bailout, represents only a small fraction of government funds that have actually went to the financial institutions responsible for the current economic meltdown.
The president continues to say in public that banks have almost paid Americans back. That is a lie. The fact is, the TARP, which Congress approved, is only 2% of the trillions of dollars in free money being provided to our banks by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. The American people know this. They know that they are subsidizing our banking sector. And yet, the TARP lie continues to be spread by our politicians.
Public resentment over the trillions of dollars of taxpayer funds that have been spent on these financial institutions is increasingly being treated as a threat by the defenders of this economic status quo. Now, Stephen Schwarzman, co-founder of the Blackstone Group, investment firm that manages some $100 billion of assets, seems to be blaming the public for the bank's reluctance to lend out any of the trillions of dollars that the taxpayers have given them. In an op-ed piece in the Washington Post last Friday, Schwarzman wrote, quote, To single out banks for blame is dangerous to the economy. If, as a result of this anger, credit becomes unavailable, particularly for small and mid-sized businesses, in the amounts needed to fuel economic growth and job creation, then at best the economy will slow, and at worst we will find ourselves in a dire situation to which we all will have contributed." End quote. Schwarzman is not the first billionaire financier who has attempted to shift the blame for the current financial meltdown off of the bankers who created it. Last November, Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein made headlines for claiming that his bank had a social purpose and was in fact doing God's work. In that same interview, Mr. Blankfein admitted that, quote, "I could slit my wrists and people would cheer," end quote. In a positive development this week, the USDA made a surprise decision to drop its highly controversial National Animal Identification System. The program, which has been under heavy criticism since it was initially proposed, would have made it mandatory for all farmers to electronically tag and track each animal individually under the guise of containing disease outbreaks among livestock. Bill Bullard of the Ranchers Cattlemen Action Legal Fund recently explained the importance of this decision to the Corbett Report.
Well, we're very pleased with the latest USDA decision because that decision has essentially abandoned this onerous program and is now focused on moving forward to improve disease traceability. And we believe we now have the opportunity to expand and build upon the pre-existing disease traceback systems that we've been using in the United States for decades to control animal diseases. So we think we will have imparted a level of reasonableness and prudence in this process, and we're looking forward to working with USDA to improve upon our existing systems to enhance our ability to conduct a disease traceback in the event of a disease outbreak.
In 2009, the USDA released a cost analysis of NAIS which showed how small farmers would have paid 2 to 3 times more than Big Agra companies under the program. This served to underline the allegation by critics of the program that it was written by and for Big Agra to further consolidate control of the U.S. food supply and to introduce Orwellian RFID technology into our everyday lives. Now, stay tuned for episode 117 of the Corbett Report, Requiem for the Suicided, Gary Webb, where we honor the life's work and explore the suspicious death of groundbreaking investigative journalist Gary Webb.